Welcome to Hot to Trot. This is not your normal horse racing podcast. I'm Ashley Eisenbiel.
And I'm Meadow Twaddle, and we're your hosts for Hot to Trot.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hot to Trot. I am Ashley Eisenbiel.
I am Meadow Twaddle.
And we are your hosts for Hot to Trot. And Meadow, it is springtime. We are very quickly approaching summer. What are some of your favorite horse racing events during the summer?
I'm really excited for Presque Isle Downs to open up. I believe they're opening up on April 19th, which is a Monday, and I'm super excited. I think I'm going to head out there actually, but I just love the scenery there. It's a very beautiful track, and I know they have some really fun races planned for the summer. And I'm just excited for all of the stake races overall. It's so exciting to be able to watch all these top class horses compete against each other. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it seems to be that each summer the horses just get better and better. So I'm really excited to see the 2-year-olds come to life this summer.
Me too. I'm also very excited for Erie to open up. I love that track, and it's the closest one to you. So I understand why you're excited to get out there and see some thoroughbred racing on your side of the state. But I don't know. I'm excited for fair harness racing. I always have enjoyed that ever since I got introduced to harness racing. The fair circuit really opened their arms to me. So I love going and talking with all the trainers and the drivers and get to be hands-on with the horses at the fairs and talk to people. So it's more of a social gathering at each fair. So that's probably why I like it. It's like going back to high school.
Yeah, I have the Washington County Fairgrounds about 10-15 minutes from me, so I'll definitely be hanging out there over the summer. I've never really spent a lot of time at the fairs, but as I've learned more and more about it, I'm really excited to go out and see what goes on there.
Yeah, the fairs are fun. The 2-day events are fun, so you got to come out with me and make your fair circuit going this summer.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm also excited. We got Penn Mile coming up. That's always because that's my hometown track, I like to say. Out of all these PA tracks, it's the closest one to me. So I always get excited for that. And, we also have Super Sunday with Harrah's, and that's always a lot of fun. That kicks us off in the racing season here in PA is Super Sunday. So that will be fun. I had to miss it last year, but I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, right.
And there goes my dog.
It's okay. Mine was just barking at the Amazon guy, so it's okay.
Bruno's attacking a toy because they've been locked up from the last interview. So on Hot to Trot, we love our animals. We love our dogs. What's your dog's name?
Colt.
Colt?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah. What kind of dog is it?
He's a yellow lab.
Aww.
It's just a good family dog.
We'll have to get some pictures of Colt and put them up. How old is Colt?
He is going to be 10 in May.
Oh, he's an old man.
So he's a little bit older. Yeah, he's a little bit slower, but we've had him since he was a puppy, so we all grew up together.
No.
Yeah.
I love that. We love our furry friends and our hoof friends.
Yes.
We just love animals.
Yeah. Today's episode really helps us solidify that idea that we really love our racehorses. We're talking with Winnie Nemeth from New Vocations, and we're talking with Danielle Montgomery with Turning for Home. Those are both aftercare programs in our horse racing industry, and they're really helping to bridge the gap between what happens after a racehorse's career in racing and their second career. And they both have incredible programs, and they're doing a really great job at giving these horses a second chance and a new career in their life.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort and time into placing these horses with the right adoptive owners and then following up with them and making sure that everyone is having the most fulfilled second career owner and horse. So we appreciate everything that Danielle and Winnie do for this industry, and we hope you enjoy our interview with them. Hi, Winnie and Danielle. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Hot to Trot today to talk all things aftercare in Pennsylvania and also throughout the country. This is such an important subject that I am very passionate about, and I know Meadow is too. So first, I'd like to get to know you guys and your program. So Danielle, can you tell us a little bit more about Turning for Home and how Turning for Home got established?
Sure, absolutely. I've been here for 11 years, so we've been through a lot together, right? We've done a lot of promotions together, Ashley, and we're here at the racetrack level. So Turning for Home was started back in 2008 as a full-time racetrack program so that every owner and trainer had a place for their horse to go. And our thing is we don't give them any reason to leave any horse behind. Turning for Home will take a horse in. We're right here on the grounds of Parks Racing. So if somebody has a horse that's ready to retire, they can come right to my office. We'll get any diagnostics from them. We'll go look at the horse and see what the horse is about. If the horse needs, something more, it needs a surgery and gets a chip removed so that it has a better second career, we'll do that. And then we run a whole network of farms so that the horses go right from the racetrack to the partner farms, and then they get some downtime and they go. But yeah, we are supported. We're kind of unique that we're supported by the horsemen here at Parks Racing. So our entire program is supported by the horsemen with a per start fee. So if an owner or trainer has to put the horse in, there's no additional fees. They pay as they go. There's also contributions from the management at Parks Racing, the breeders, the jockeys. So it's kind of all in here at Parks to make sure the horses go on to a good career.
That's an amazing program to have, like right there in-house at the track, and you guys can go out and see those horses. Winnie, tell us a little bit about New Vocations and your role in that program and how it got established.
Sure. So I'm Winnie Nemeth. I'm the Standardbred Program Director for New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program. We do both Standardbreds and Thoroughbreds, and we primarily are taking horses that are coming directly off the racetrack that are retiring, whether they reach the mandatory retirement age, and most of them, some of my Standardbreds, or there was some type of injury or they're just not fast enough. Then they can come to one of our facilities, which with the Standardbreds, we have 3 facilities in Ohio, and we have 1 facility in New York that takes Standardbreds. We do take Thoroughbreds at many different state levels, but I'm just going to talk to you guys about the Standardbred side. So if we can get them coming off the track, we feel that's the best option. And then we work on transitioning them to be riding horses. We do have a small broodmare program where we are taking retired broodmares as well, and that's really grown the past 3 years. And we're also teaching those retired broodmares how to ride as well, and that's been pretty interesting and a neat aspect, and taken quite a few Pennsylvania mares. So
that is so cool about the broodmares.
I love the broodmares. They're so smart, and I guess it's kind of like riding a bike for them, as long as they have some, they already have the background. So, I guess it's like us, like, hey, the kids are gone, it's me time, take me fun places.
Yeah, it's kind of been like that.
So, Winnie, you primarily give second careers of riding horses. Danielle, kind of walk us through what happens when a horse enters your program, and how do you determine what kind of second career or lifestyle is best suited for them?
I think it's so important that these horses do get that chance to have somebody figure them out. I think one of the most crucial things about Turning for Home is that we're here so that horses don't get sold directly from the track, because when they come off the track, they have to go through that transformation. So yeah, I think that's probably our biggest gift to the horses, is that we give them the time to figure out what they want to do. And I try to kind of guess here at the track, but they're racing and they're just walking and they're not turned out yet. So I can kind of guess what they want to do by their conformation. I can kind of guess a little bit by their temperament and their size. But they kind of, sometimes they'll flip flop on you, and sometimes the big tough one that had to have 2 guys take him to the paddock, he ends up being the biggest puppy dog that you have to kick around outside. So they change a lot, and I think it's important that we, give them the opportunity with our partner farms to retrain. And I think that one of the biggest misconceptions, or one of the biggest, I guess, words that we're struggling with right now is retiring racehorses, right? Because yes, they're retired from their first career racing, but we really want to push this idea that aftercare is about transitioning them. It's about, they retire, average age is for a thoroughbred, the average age is 4.5 to 5 that they're retiring. So they have another 20 years to go. So we just want to do everything we can to set them up for that. So first, we just give them some downtime at our farm. We try to Turning for Home is a network. We don't just operate from one farm, so we have a huge network. So one of the key things to our success here is just trying to figure out, where they're going to be successful. The different areas of the country have, different needs for different horses. So we try to work with farms that we think are going to partner up with, our horses. If they're going to be just trail horses, if they're going to be polo horses, if we think they're going to be 100 jumpers, we try to send them to the farm that does that specialty to give them the best shot. And, I think there's just so much into it, but it's about transitioning them into new careers and letting them have the time to figure out what they want to do, both physically and mentally. And that's pretty much the whole point of our program. And we're really proud to be able to do that.
Danielle, haven't you had a couple horses like actually go to be police horses?
Oh, yeah, we've had Captain. He's still at the Philadelphia Mounted Police. We did have them come back. Actually, it was a really fun Turning for Home day where we invited the Philadelphia Mounted Police to come back to Parks, and 2 of our horses led the post parade. And it was really great. And it was Captain, and I'm trying to think of the name of the other one. It was Steve Krebs's horse, begins with a 2. I forget. He's trail riding now. But yeah, we've had 4 or 5 of them go. And the police, Mounted Police it's a different kind of career. They have to be able to stand. They have to be big. It's great for like the sesamoid horses that we know can't jump anymore. But as far as just like pounding the pavement, literally just walking, and doing that and just standing in crowd control. They were at the Eagles game. We walked up to the Eagles game. I'm like, that's one of our horses. So it's a lot of fun, but it's a good career choice for them. Sure.
Wow. That's incredible. There's so many different careers for horses that I don't think people really realize. There is like police horses. You would never think that a retired racehorse could go on to be a police horse. So that's really, really incredible. Winnie, how many horses did you have go through your program last year? And are there any specific stories that you would like to share of something that stood out to you?
Yeah, so last year we placed 98 standardbreds. As a whole organization, we placed over 400 retired racehorses. But on the average, we've always stayed the past few years around that 100 mark of retired standardbreds. And just like Danielle said, it is really unique to see them go on into their new homes. We've always felt, since we started the program in 1992, that the biggest thing to do was transition them and then get them into a new home, because that's where they're just going to continue and thrive. And if we give these standardbreds a skill, because they do not have the skill of riding, but they've seen so much on the track, as you know, that transition is pretty easy, but it does need to be done with, people that know what they're doing in professional hands. They will go on for many years, and we all know horses live a long time, and, into their 30s, and can have the skill of riding that somebody else can enjoy them. And that tends to keep them, in a home longer, in a safe spot. A lot of the standardbreds most recently that we've placed just go on to be, somebody's show horse, or they go on and be a family horse. A horse that stands out to me that we placed that raced a whole lot at the Meadows with Ron Burke and owned by Mark Weaver was Take It Back Terry. I don't know if you know that horse, but he was a millionaire. He retired with 1.5 million on his card. He raced 292 times. Those type of starts on our standardbreds you do not see on a thoroughbred, so that makes them a little bit different. He was a tremendous war horse for Burke Racing and Weaver Bershemi. They owned him majority of his life, and he had such a work ethic, and he loved working. He transitioned very easily, but you could tell that he was a little bit at a loss. I was like, what do I do now? And so just riding him daily, he really loved, and he connected and ended up with a family of a girl that was a senior in high school. And she started teaching him just like basic dressage, and he started just walking, trotting. And that's, that was her goal, and that's what he's doing. And she did her senior pictures with him, and they were absolutely stunning. She said, they'll have him forever, and she's working on jumping. She's teaching him to canter, which is going well. And, it's just really unique to see a horse like him that raced for so long, doing that job.
That's amazing.
Mm.
Danielle, I know you guys have had a milestone year with Turning for Home and how many horses you've placed. Do you want to talk more about that and any other special horses that stand out to you in your program?
Sure. I was just thinking out loud with Winnie, with the what the standardbreds can do. I have to say this real quick before I forget. But they can do anything. My daughters do a lot of barrel racing with the little bay mares and stuff. But we have friends that raise and race standardbreds, and these girls came out with 2 or 3 different standardbreds that they turned into barrel horses that would kick our butts. I wish I knew their actual racing names, but I'm going to find out, Winnie, and get you their stories because,
Oh,
like, it's just
awesome.
crazy. I came from a quarter horse world, and people think it's odd to have thoroughbreds doing, the speed events,
Yeah.
but then to have a standardbred come in and kick your butt year in and year out, it's kind of original and different. So yeah, Whitney, so her horses are amazing. But yeah, as far as Turning for Home, we've had our milestone this year. We had 4,400 horses come through, and it was kind of cool that the horse that was our 4,400th horse was named El Hermano, and he kind of has like a cool history. He's from a Pennsylvania farm, equine farm, bred him, but he was foaled out in New York, so he's a New York bred. But he ran in New York, and then he came down here, and he ran a lot of races here at Parks Racing. And it was one of those things where the barn loved this horse so much that even when he got claimed away, Sloveno claimed him back, and he won 3 in a row for them. He won a lot of races, and he was just a cool horse. And so he ended up getting hurt. He had a sesamoid fracture, just a bad step on the track one day. And when we were getting ready to send him for surgery, and I was looking at the farms, I'm like, oh, he's bred by Equivine, and they've been great supporters of Turning for Home. Back from 2010 to 2015, they were one of our main donors. So I had talked a little bit to Val about maybe working as a Turning for Home partner farm. She's TAA accredited, and she's doing a little bit. She has a girl there that does a lot of the retraining, and they produce about not a crazy amount, but 10 to 15 thoroughbreds a year that they're actually producing and adopting out. So she took El Hermano on as like her first Turning for Home horse, and we're looking forward to partnering with her even further. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of great stories. I can't think of. I mean, it's just crazy. We get 300 horses a year right from Parks. I think last year was a record year. We had like 340 come through, just through the Parks regular way. And then also like if there's a Pennsylvania bred broodmare or Pennsylvania breds that are in trouble anywhere, we'll take some horses into. Outside of our criteria in a partnership that we have with the PA breeders. So we get a bunch of horses every year, and I think every adoption is just it's a victory. They're all special.
Absolutely. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about what happens to racehorses after they are retired from racing. So, Winnie, tell us how New Vocations is kind of working to bridge that gap between that gray area, and what do people get wrong about aftercare?
Well, that's a great question because I feel like a lot of people, even just in harness racing, whether that be trainers but mainly owners, what they see on social media is not always positive. And they're looking and, scrolling, and they're seeing horses in kill pen situations. And one of the things I like to, let people know, I mean, obviously that is something real, but that's in the horse community. Like that happens, it can happen to any breed. It's not standardbred or thoroughbred specific. And there are people that, that's what they do. They save horses from sales and that type of thing. And that's great. That's never been our mission. We're pro racing. I'm the daughter of a 6th-generation harness horseman. My dad was a trainer. And, I grew up in the business, and majority of horsemen love their horses. And that's huge. And I just think, the public doesn't realize that, but we've always preached that. So, which was one of the reasons why, our mission has been to get them from the track. So when you're getting them from the track, somebody was conscientious and wanted to make sure that horse had a better option, which most trainers and owners, that's what they want for their horses. So we just try to spread the positivity of our success stories of the horses that have gone through our program. We have a lifetime return policy, so that any horse, regardless of their age, could always come back to New Vocations. And that has really been great in terms of, when people are moving or something changes in their life, they know they can always contact us and we'll take our horses back. Or if they need assistance in getting their horse back to us, we can step in and do that. But by if you look at numbers, majority of the horses that are in those types of sales are stock horses, like quarter horses. And I feel, the racing community, those numbers have dropped dramatically from when my mom, Dot Morgan, started New Vocations in 1992, which was the reason why our program was because our racehorses were going to slaughterhouses at the time because it was legal in the United States. It's not any longer, but she saw that need that, these horses were useful. They could be useful to somebody else doing a different job if they weren't, able to race any longer. So she saw that need. And that is why New Vocations started. And still to this day, that's, we continue that mission and feel that if we can get them from the track and teach them a skill, that's something that horse will have for a lifetime.
So important. Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about how adopters get screened to get one of your horses and the process that they go to?
Yeah, absolutely. Like every horse coming off the track, some horses are going to be a little bit more ready to go right away, and some horses are going to need a lot of time. So turning for home, we don't really advertise our horses as they exit the racetrack. I mean, it would be a great draw and people love to see them, as they're leaving the track. But then, the farms have to put up with a million adopters reaching out to that farm until we really know what the horse is going to do. So our first step is to make sure that the horse is rehabbed properly and is restarted, so we know he's mentally prepared. And then we'll start advertising. The farms will do that individual marketing. We'll assist them. We'll share their ads and we'll field questions, and we take our applications in. Anybody can send an attorney firm application, and we'll send it out to all the farms so that they can see if they have any horses in your criteria. But we really try to let the horse be a horse first, and then the adopters can apply once they see the horse advertised. They can send in an application to me, or they can work directly with the farm. Right now, I think because we've been doing this for so long, our farms have a pretty good set of, almost like a second tier set of thoroughbred trainers that will take the horses from our partner farms. So the partner farms will get them rehabbed, get them started, see what they think, and then they'll call their crew and they'll advertise to their set of trainers that can take on the horses. And it's a whole lot better than just, sending the horse out to, every, person that says, oh, I'd like to have a horse for the first time. So this way they're going into trainers that maybe have lesson programs and trainers that are working with them, putting some show miles onto them. And then the next owner, so usually that second or third owner of the racetrack, might be a young girl that's, coming up, and moving up from her pony to a thoroughbred. So it's kind of like the whole system kind of just works naturally at the farm level, where the horses find their homes. And it's usually with people that are visiting the farms, that are working there, taking lessons, seeing them. So you might see a few ads up for Turning for Home. We're always trying to raise awareness. We're always trying to let people know our success stories. And, like Winnie said, it's really important to everybody's mission that everybody knows that these horses are going on to great places. But our process is a little bit slower, that, we'd rather them just, naturally find their homes with, people that are actually going there to meet them, get to know them, ride them, fall in love with them that way. So the farms pretty much take on that process of matching them up to the right adopter. They can leave, they can come back. If a horse doesn't work out for them, we try to find another horse that'll work for them. We'll do everything we can to make sure each horse gets its chance to find the right home. And, some horses might stay with us for a couple years. Some horses pretty much leave the track, feet flying right out the door, and, somebody wants to take them on. But we just make sure that the people that get them are people that, can handle the thoroughbreds and have somebody to work with them, because, the worst thing we can do is let them go to the wrong home. And then, and this is why we're here too. We don't want people to sell horse up the racetrack to somebody that wouldn't know what to do with the horse if the horse didn't work out. We'll take back our horses for life. If you adopt a horse and it doesn't work out, you can take it back to the farm and they'll try to find you something else, or just tell you, okay, hold on, wait. When something comes through that I think will match with you, we'll find you another horse. And we have a lot of repeat adopters. We have a lot of people that, trainers that might adopt up to 10 a year, put them into their programs, get them showing, and then adopt them out to their clientele. And that seems to be the best way to do it, because it's really given the horse plenty of time to figure out what they want to do. And by the time that you buy that horse, you know what the horse is.
That kind of leads into the next question I was going to ask you, is like about adopters, the follow-up your program does and the additional support that you give the adopters and the horses after, they've been placed.
Yeah, well, it's a full-time job. We have, a crew here. There's 3 of us that check in on the horses. In addition to the actual farm managers, they do their own check-ins. But what we do is we retire all the full papers from the jockey club. So when a horse comes to training for home, they're never allowed to race again. Not steeplechasing, not flat racing. So we retire the papers with the jockey club, and then those papers come back from the jockey club, and now they're digital, but they're stamped retired from racing. And up to 2018, they have the physical full papers. So we'll try to do a 6-month check-in. If we don't hear from the person, we're always here. I get calls every day about the horses, but we're always here to handle any problems, or if they're reselling the horse, we just tell them, call us, let us know before the horse leaves where the horse is going. We update and we keep track of that paperwork, and we have spreadsheets. Like I know New Vacations has spreadsheets on spreadsheets of all the different changes of hands of the horses. And so we try to follow up. We ask for, at 6 months, they have to send us confirmation pictures and, let us know how the horse is doing. That's usually a crucial time, because, you might know in the first month, but usually within 6 months, if that's your heart horse, that this horse is never going anywhere, the kind that you're going to take all your wedding pictures with, if that horse is going to stay with you forever. Or if I have this horse, he might be a retraining project, and they'll tell us up front, this is a retraining project. I might keep him a year, I might go to the thoroughbred makeover with them. I might just be, bring them along, and then it'll be a resale project. They'll tell us that. Or they might just call and say, this horse just isn't working out. Maybe we can help them. If it's a newer horse owner, we'll work with them with veterinary advice, helping them to get with their veterinarian and check their feeding programs, and see what they think is going on with the horse as far as soundness issues or whatever's going on. So we're here to always help, but we definitely are serious about the follow-up, and we share it with the owners and trainers here too, because they want to know. And it's kind of been cool that we've been here so long that the trainers and the owners know our program and they look for the success stories, but now they call me. Like when Turning for Home and New Vacations started, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Twitter. It was really hard to track our horses. And, we all have strict contracts and we try to do everything the right way. But now even the trainers will follow their horses to my partner farms. They'll ask, where's the farm going? And then they'll be on the farm pages looking to see when they pop up, and they're looking for the success stories. And now, like, they'll actually call me and say, here, I got this great update. John Service texted me 2 days ago and was like, he was, an owner, just pretty much popped up and said, hey, I was at this show and there was this big strapping gray there. And I looked him up and he was in your barn and he did really well for you. And, and Big Louie's doing great jumping. And so I thought it was really kind of cool. Now the trainers call me and say, here's another update on our horse. So it's very important, and I think it's really good for everybody. It's good for the adopters to know that, that there's horses out there, that these thoroughbreds can do everything. It's good for the owners and trainers who are donating them to know where their horse is going, because then they see it, and then they want their next favorite horse to get that opportunity to go and be some little girl's, favorite horse. So it makes it easier for us too when there's a good communication between the adopters, the partner farms, and us. So it's definitely important and something that we take a lot of pride in trying to follow up and see what our horses are doing.
Absolutely. Winnie, what kind of screening and protocols does New Vocations have in place for adopters?
So about 2 years ago, we implemented a free questionnaire that anybody that's interested in wanting to adopt through our program can go right to our website, newvocations.org, and fill out that questionnaire. We did this because we were receiving about 1,500 to 1,800 applications, and not all of them, which were getting approved. And there is a $25 fee to get the application. So we kind of needed to do a pre-screening so that it would, again, just not take up nearly as much time. That has proved to be excellent, because then we're able to, once we know that the person has owned a horse before, we do not adopt to first-time home horse owners, or children under the age of 18. So that kind of screened out also in terms of like how much money they make a year, is a big one as well, because there's so many wonderful people that want to adopt a horse and they think it's great. But our racehorses are very unique. And so over the years, we have found that it does take a special kind of person who is going to want a thoroughbred or standardbred. So that questionnaire has been huge. So after they've passed the questionnaire, then they get the application. Last year, we had over 1,000 approved applicants wanting retired racehorses. And we ask questions and get information on, where the horse would be living, what kind of fencing, how many horses are they turned out with, how much grain do they feed. We get a reference from their veterinarian. The veterinarian has to have been to either their boarding facility or their personal home property, if that's where the horses are. If there's a trainer, we have to contact their trainer for information. They need to provide 2 equine references. It's a pretty thorough application, and over the years, I feel it's done its job in screening the right people, and it also helps our trainers then, who are talking to the adopters, match them with exactly what their horse goals are and what they're looking for. I also feel for those first-time horse owners that really want to adopt and they heard about our program, say, we're just coming off Equine Affair in Columbus, which was all last weekend. We talked to a lot of people there, but most of them were not ready to adopt a racehorse. So that questionnaire has really helped us out. So once they're then approved, then they can start talking to the trainers and try to find the perfect match and horse that wants to accomplish the goals that they're wanting to accomplish. Our horses our standardbreds go with a 2-year contract, and we ask for a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month update, and then 1 update in the second year. We also do convert all of the USTA papers to pleasure horse papers, and that keeps them from ever racing. So when an owner calls me or a trainer, if that horse is still of racing age, that's the first thing I ask them to do is convert those papers to pleasure horse papers. And then that gets the process going. But I feel our application, has changed just a little bit, but the questionnaire has really helped. And again, it's helped us get more horses into good homes.
That's amazing. And do you follow up with the adopters then after?
Yes. So they have a 2-year contract. They have to send in updates at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And then once during the 24-month update is what we call it. So yeah, we are always available to talk to people. I mean, I talk to adopters, as do our trainers, questions from shoeing to supplements to veterinary work to, is this horse lame because he's pacing? That's when we do get a lot. If their vets have not ever seen a pacer go, or not even familiar with harness racing or standardbreds, the breed in general, I feel like we do a lot of educating afterwards.
Danielle, I know you touched on the relationships that you have with trainers and parks racing and owners, but have you seen industry support grow more over the years?
Industry support for aftercare, absolutely. I mean, now pretty much every racetrack has, aftercare, that they'll send the horse to. New Vocations takes horses from every track. Some tracks have certain aftercare organizations that they'll send to, like, New Jersey sends to Second Call, Turning for Home is parks based, Mid-Atlantic, covers Delaware and some of the Maryland tracks, and they'll take from, different people. So yeah, there's so many organizations out there. The TA has done a good job of really giving all the people that accreditation that kind of brings everybody together. So yeah, I think that there's plenty of support out here for these horses. And I think our biggest job here at the track level is just really reminding the trainers and the owners why it's important. It's, they're at the end of the day, an owner owns his racehorse. They own the horse. They're free to take that horse home. They're free to let it live in the back of their yard for the rest of its life. They're free to breed that horse. It's their horse. So it's okay for them to sell these horses too. So And we kind of want to encourage that, right? Like we want to encourage them to retire the horses sound enough to have a second career. But we also want to remind them at the same breath that yes, we're happy that you're retiring your fabulous horse. I mean, these horses are just the best athletes in the world. So it's fabulous that more and more horses are retiring sounder than ever before. And there's a high demand for them. I'm thankful to so many different organizations just showing that thoroughbreds can do everything, and they can be great horses if they're given the right start. But we're always trying to also remind the owners and trainers to take advantage of the aftercare programs, because like we said, it takes time. It takes sometimes years for these horses to really settle down and get their niche and see what they want to do. And so, our programs, all of our farms are experienced professionals. They're good at what they do. And, like I said, some horses are super easy, and some horses really take a few years to figure out and get started in the right way. And so we see some horses, leave and come back. But I think there's plenty of support, and we're happy to say at Turning for Home, we've never turned away an eligible horse. When the trainers put the horses in our program, we get them out within 2 weeks. I think the average is like 7 days. So it's not like a big holdup that, they have to spend a lot of money on day rates to keep the horses waiting for somebody to pick them up. The horses here at parks are picked up right away and they find good spots. So there's plenty of support for everybody to do the right thing. Like I said, horses are retiring sounder than ever because of programs like New Vocations and Turning for Home and all the great TIA farms that are out there, because people can see that these horses can go on to do things. There's a lot of support too with the actual shows. The TIP program, the Thoroughbred Incentive Program, gives actual prizes to shows. So if you were going to host a Thoroughbred show, you could call them and say, could you send me extra awards? I'm going to throw in some extra Thoroughbred classes into my open show and try to get more Thoroughbreds and raise that demand for people to want to show Thoroughbreds because they get more prizes and more awards. The Take Two program has been going on, I think, since 2010 or something. New York's program, and they have a great upper level hunter and jumper show series that they give a lot of awards to the thoroughbreds and keep track of their points, and that raises an incentive for somebody to want to take a thoroughbred over a different breed and show them. And I think the more thoroughbred shows we put on, we're going to keep increasing that demand. And I think it's a good thing as long as we take those opportunities, like Winnie said, and make them educational as well, and really always teach people what these horses need and best practices, and give them the support and help they need. But there's plenty of support for everybody here, for the owners and the adopters.
Winnie, how's the support been from the standardbred world for New Vocations?
The support has been wonderful. It was really great to see the formation of the Standardbred Transition Alliance, which is very similar to the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and that's standardbred specific. We were one of the first accredited organizations, and what that means is that we can now apply and receive grant funding to help with all the care of the standardbreds that we have in our program. But it also makes sure that there's checks and balances in place at every single one of our farms. Very transparency about our books, how our program works. The STA has just been excellent in setting those standards for all standardbred aftercare facilities that are involved, and I think that that's really important. But in terms, the tracks have been very supportive. The Meadows in Pennsylvania has probably been the most supportive harness track, but so does the Poconos and Chester. Also very supportive. I think definitely harness racing was a little bit behind thoroughbred racing in terms of aftercare, but right now in 2025, I think everybody is fully aware of the importance of organizations like New Vocations, and finding a new career or a new purpose for your standardbred when they're done racing, especially if they've taken care of you for a short time or a long time. And really just, we all know the biggest thing I would see that I see in harness racing is just the Amish. There's wonderful Amish, but they do use the horses for their mode of transportation, which is not going to change. And so, we feel like at New Vocations, that's great, but we would like the horses coming, into our program are not going to be doing that job. That's probably one of the biggest threats, but overall, the support is wonderful.
You both have two amazing programs, and we are so thankful that you're helping out our racehorses find their second careers. And it's so important to us, and we know the racing fans and our racing community, both in standardbred racing and in thoroughbred racing. So if you want to share with our listeners, Danielle, how, if they want to support your program and your mission, how can they do so?
We have a website, turningforhome.org. They can always go on there. They can find our farms on there. They can find the adoption applications on there. And they can also donate on there. There's a couple different ways to do that. So they can find turningforhome.org. And we have a few days at the racetrack. Turning for Home Day will be on Labor Day at Parks Racing in Bensalem. So they're always welcome to come out and meet some of our horses and some of our farms. And if there's volunteer opportunities, I have people call me all the time. Right now there's a lot of work programs that'll like give you a day off to go do some volunteer work. Our farms would always love you to come out and really see how the horses are treated and help out. So there's tons of ways, but you can start by going to either our Facebook or turningforhome.org.
Great. Winnie, how can our listeners help support New Vocations in your program?
Well, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, also TikTok, and our website is newvocations.org. You can donate right through our website under the donate tab, but we're pretty much on all the social media channels as well as Twitter. Pretty easy to find us if you need us.
All right, ladies, we're done with the interview portion. Now we're going to throw you both in the hot seat. This is something fun and little we like to do to wrap up the podcast. Just a few little fun questions, not horse related. So just something to get to know you guys a little bit better. I'll kick it off with Danielle. Why don't you tell us what your guilty pleasure TV show or movie is?
My guilty pleasure TV show. I don't know. For a long time, I think I watched Pride and Prejudice maybe 5 or 6 times till I knew all the words. So that might be a Sunday morning thing.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm in love with Lioness. That's my new amazing series, Lioness. You're gonna love it. You should tune in.
I've been told to watch that a few times, so I might have to now that you say that. I haven't really gotten into it, but
yeah, strong female character balancing saving the world and raising her family. It's really good.
What about you, Winnie?
I love The Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Me too.
It's changed a lot since from when I first started watching it, or The Real Housewives of Orange County or Beverly Hills. I love all of those.
Winnie, you're my girl.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
We're all on the same page. Are you Teresa? Are you original Teresa? Are you new evolved Teresa?
No, I like the original Teresa. The one that didn't know what she was signing back in the day. Yeah, right. I think you. Yeah, I was like a junkie from the beginning.
Me too. I love Jacqueline. I feel like Jacqueline should just be back. I don't care where she lives, what state. Jersey is definitely my favorite Housewives series.
Yes. Yeah.
So I love that. All right. Next question, Danielle. When you reach for a snack, do you crave salty or sweet?
Salty. Definitely salty. I don't really have a sweet tooth.
And what is that salty snack?
So I'm not a snacker, but I'll go for some salty peanuts or almonds or the hot nut mix. Probably my thing.
Winnie, salty or sweet?
Definitely salty.
Me too.
And what's your snack that you like the best?
Right now I'm loving the Quest Ranch tortilla chips. The high protein tortilla chips.
Nice. Their protein chips are so good.
They are so good. I really like them.
All right, next question, Danielle. What was your first concert you ever went to?
Oh, a friend took me. It was Mr. Roboto. Who was? I can't remember who the band was. But the song was Mr. Roboto. They did the whole thing. It was a long time ago. But since then, I've been to a lot of country concerts since.
Could you do that again, Mr.
Roboto? Oh God, who was that band? I can't think.
We'll have to Google it and put it up on the screen.
Winnie, what was your first concert?
Well, I don't know if this artist is still around, but he came to our county fair, which was the Dark County Fair in Greenville, Ohio. His name was Keith Mellons, and he was a country artist. I don't think I even knew who he was then, but he played in the infield of our half mile racetrack, and it stood out to me because he chose me out of the crowd and pulled me up on stage and sang a song to me. So I was I was a fan. I think I was like 16 years old.
I would have been a fan too. That's the best part about county fairs is you can have harness racing and then in the evening go see a country concert or
That's
another
right.
band. Like that's what I love about our county fairs here and
Yes.
throughout the country.
Yes.
All right, Danielle, if you could master one new hobby, what would that hobby be?
I don't know. I missed out on jumping when I was young, and they didn't have eventing and cross country like they do now. So I think before I get too old to do it, I would love to learn to actually to jump and I've done some dressage and I can ride. I've rode racehorses for 15 years, so I can ride anything, but I missed that boat. So I'm sorry that I'm a geek and I'm sticking with horses, but yeah, there's so many different hobbies in the horse world that I'd like to continue to try. I mean, let's face it, horses are so expensive that, you got to use what's in your backyard. So
Winnie, what new hobby would you like to master?
Well, I'm like Danielle, I'm going to stick with the horses. So I have always loved watching the standardbred show and the roadster classes that are held at the saddlebred shows. And I really would love to show one of those horses. So they're being driven, but you get in like the old type of silks to drive them. And we've placed quite a few standardbreds that have gone on to be pretty successful show horses in that avenue. I really think it would be fun, although I get a little nervous with that many drivers in a small arena. It kind of freaks me out a little bit versus a racetrack. But I grew up showing saddlebreds in Morgan, so I loved that world when I was a youth. And then my daughters show quarter horses, so the completely opposite of that. And I also am very passionate about that. But that's what I would like to show a roadster, standardbred and roadster.
That would be really neat. I've seen those at the farm show. We have a little
Yes, they do it there.
yeah demo. That'd be awesome. I think both you ladies should do it. I think you should take that up this year, 2025, new hobby.
I have to do it.
And then give us updates on how's it going in videos. All right. Well, that does it for this episode of Hot to Trot. Thank you, Danielle and Winnie, for joining us and sharing everything about Aftercare. It is so important to horse racing and our industry and breeding. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon.
thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and thank you to the Standardbred Breeders of Pennsylvania for sponsoring Hot to Trot. We'll see you next time.